What's going on, everybody? Josh Callaway alongside James D. Jackson, Sooners Illustrated and 24/7 Sports at the Alamodome in San Antonio, Texas, where Oklahoma comes up short in their final game of the regular season. They lose to Arizona 38-24, the first game of the Jackson Arnold era. Had some nice moments and had some true freshman in his first game moments. We'll break it down for you a little bit here. But James, this is a weird game. Really weird game, because the first quarter was rough for Oklahoma. They're on 13-0. Nothing seemed to be working. They pretty much dominate the game for about two quarters. Looks like they're maybe going to blow Arizona out, and then they just falls apart and they end up losing. This was a game that it was hot and cold back and forth, and in the end, Oklahoma loses.
At one point in the game, it was 13-0, Arizona lead, and it was 24-13, Oklahoma lead, and it just swung back and forth, and Arizona took the last four scores of the game. I mean, Billy Bowman kind of said it in the presser. Oklahoma beat Oklahoma in this one. I know I don't want to not give Arizona their credit. They were a good team. They played really well. But Oklahoma had 6 turnovers in this one. An Alamo Bowl record, by the way, which is it's just insane how many things went wrong for the Sooners. And then things went right, and then they went back wrong again. So it was just a crazy, crazy game. And I know you said it just yesterday. I mean, you're going to overreact to Jackson Arnold's game one way or the other.
Yep.
How are you feeling now? I mean, because you're kind of going both ways. I mean, this could be really bad or really good, because some of those throws were outstanding. The one to Jalil Farouk that Jalil Farouk fumbled was a crazy throw. The one to Brennan Thompson in the back that scored a touchdown on was also an outstanding throw.
Touchdown to Nick Anderson was great.
Yeah,
too.
and then the one that threw to the linebacker was just awful. That was a big swing of the game. Yeah. And so there was just good moments, bad moments. He's a freshman. He was a true freshman. That was his first game out there really controlling as the main guy on the offense. So there was some things to take away from that,
Yeah, I mean, Brent Venables, he said it, and it's not breaking any news. You're not going to win when you lose the turnover margin 6-1. It's just not going to happen. Oklahoma shot themselves in the foot an insane amount of times in this game. Obviously, a couple of really, really costly Jalil Farouk fumbles in this game. One of them they ran back for a score when they were driving to go up maybe by 3 scores. Yep. And then the other one, down on this end, inside the 5-yard line, I think it was. It was inside the 10, certainly. Obviously, more points you're expecting there that you don't get. Just brutal mistakes. But you're right. I mean, like you said, I touched on it yesterday that we're all going to overreact no matter what Jackson Arnold did. This was weird because it was a mixed bag. He legitimately looked great. He threw for 3 bills in this game. He had some dime touchdowns. The ball to Brennan Thompson was gorgeous. It was a tight spiral. It led him over it was perfect. But
Nick
then
Anderson throw was also amazing.
Right. And the like you said, the one on the sideline, I mean, he had some great moments, but also the turnovers was just out of control. And he had the fumble too. The one Jalil Farouk fumble was an interception. It was ruled out initially. They went and changed it, but he still turned the ball over, obviously, way too much.
That's the thing.
Obviously,
I think the 2 Farouk fumbles were kind of heartbreaking in those moments because OU was driving inside the 5-yard line, and Arizona gets the ball back and scores on both of those plays. So, I mean, those are like a 14-point swing almost. I think it was 2 touchdowns off of that. So that was the most roughest part of the game. I mean, that's football, though. That's football. Yeah. You have those 2 little errors, and even though Jackson Arnold had his interceptions and his fumble, you still could have won that game. And I think that was kind of deciding factors of the game there.
Yeah, of course, obviously, Seth Luttrell, his first game as play caller, felt a little clunky early, but kind of like Jackson Arnold, felt like he got into his bag, got into a rhythm, kind of found that nice balance between Sawchuk and Walker. Sawchuk, another great game today. He finished the season splendidly for Oklahoma. You're really hoping he can ride that into next year. But the offensive line was bad, right? I mean, Jackson Arnold was running for his life a lot of this game. They had I don't know what the actual number, I should have looked before we did this. It felt like 10 million penalties, especially holding in the second half of this game. Offensive line, now we'll get into it when we kind of spin it forward into next year. But overall, I'm not panicking really too much at all about this loss if you're Oklahoma, in my opinion. Offensive line is the one that I will grant you is a concern. It was not good. We talked about it. You're missing a lot of starters, and it looked like it. It wasn't great. The offensive line had a rough day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we talked about it. I mean, it's going to be 5 new guys on the offensive line
as a group
next season. And that wasn't a good look tonight. You had a couple starters back to help you out, Walter Rouse, became Tara guys like that. They were able to play, but it just didn't look good at the very end of the game. I don't know. It was one of those games where you looked really bad to start, and it looked like they were going to blow them out because they found their way.
They did.
and then they fell off at the end. It seems like every loss this season has been kind of like that. OU seems like they found their footing. It happened in Kansas when they started running the ball very well. It happened against OSU.
Bedlam too,
it just they felt like, okay, maybe they're getting their footing. They're gonna be good here, and then they just lose it at the end.
Yeah.
And a lot of it's player errors sometimes. Just getting one guy messes up and it kind of spirals to the rest of the team, and it just keeps on rolling. There's penalties after penalties, and then you get a moment where a pass interference in the end zone to Drake Stoops that didn't happen kind of hurts your team. You get down to the final drive and you can't be miraculous like you did against Texas. I mean, so that's kind of the loss that OU had this year. It was kind of just guys making errors at the very end. It all combines together, because you could blame the coaches for things like that all season long. Jeff Libby caught a lot of flack this year for just his play calling, but I mean, it goes both ways. It was a collective loss. And I think that's the same way it was tonight.
Yeah. Defensively, not bad. I mean, it looks bad on paper, 38 points, but like we said, you turned the ball over 6 times. That's a lot of short fields, quick turnaround spots. The defense really did some nice things. The 2 times where Arizona really drove the length of the field, in particular after Luka Elzinga pinned them down inside the 5. And they went the length.
95 yards.
Yeah, those are some rough spots there. But overall, I didn't think it was awful by any means. I thought the defense had some nice moments. They got after the passer, racked up some sacks in this game. Marcus Stripling got in there. R. Mason Thomas got in there. Kendall Dolby got in there. So that was nice to see, obviously. And, for the defense, you're carrying that in next year. All the key pieces are going to be back. You're going to add more pieces. Some guys will be in year 2 in Oklahoma, like P.J. Adebawore, Deshaun McCullough. There's a lot to be optimistic about defensively. I thought it was pretty good in this game. I mean, was it perfect? By no means was it perfect, but it wasn't the reason they lost. The turnovers is why they lost.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's kind of why I opened with saying OU beat OU in this one. I know Arizona played very well, but it was like they really had just 2 drives where the offense outperform the defense. They had to go a full length of the field and beat them in that aspect. But like you said, there's a lot of defense coming back, and that's a very good situation for OU to be in, because they even got that defensive line that is coming in. That is going to be a very good defensive line. So OU still has some things to look forward to. The biggest key is not turning the ball over. That's going to be a big takeaway in the offseason, and fixing the offensive line. Who's going to be there? How are they going to develop? Those are going to be the biggest things, because as Ted Roof said to us just a couple of days ago, the SEC is the line of scrimmage league. So you got to be able to win there. They have the defense looking like they're going to be really good, but the offense has to find that rhythm as well, the offensive line.
Absolutely. So to wrap up, season's in the books. Brent Venables year 2. Still a 4-win improvement, obviously, from last year. We knew this was going to be tough. We both picked Oklahoma to win, but we said it was going to be a close game. I mean, it's tough when you're going in, and we both, and everybody, we're not hot take by any means. We all think Jackson Arnold's going to be great. But it's still, no matter how good you are, first start, it's tough. It's a tough spot against a top 15 team for your first start. And in December, too.
And you don't have your offensive line, and you have a new offensive coordinator. There's things good.
State of the program, I guess, for you, and kind of wrap up this season as you look forward into next year. I still think, personally, that there's a lot to be optimistic about. This game doesn't really alter my opinion, frankly, really at all. I still think Jackson Arnold's going to be great, and he looked great. Like we said, for stretches, he looked great. He'll button up some of those mistakes. Really, the defense, like we just said, is going to improve. How could it not? You have a ton of talent at the play, at the skill positions, your wide receiver room, running back. You're fine there. If you can just button up that O-line, this is really a team that doesn't have a lot of holes. You're still feeling pretty good about Oklahoma, where they at, and moving forward into year 3 under Venables, and obviously, like we said a million times this year, the first year in the SEC.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you summed it up. I mean, there's a lot to look forward to in this offseason. I mean, it's not like the sky is falling just because they lost the Alamo Bowl this year.
Yeah, right.
I mean, Brent Venables said it before the game happened. This is going to be more like the first game of next year, trying to see where they're at, as opposed to this being the championship team that they thought they put together. Because Dylan Gabriel's not here, Jeff Lebby's not here, your offensive line's not here, which includes your center, which is a very big part of your offensive line, guiding, who's going to block who. So all that's got to be under the bridge now. It's worried about next season, and that's what this was tonight. And we got to see, okay, Jackson Arnold has a few things that he needs to fix. Maybe the wide receivers need to get, different things going on for them. So you summed it up, man. There's nothing else to say about it, man. Hey, I think it's just time to get ready for men's basketball. They look really good, and hey, I hear the softball team is pretty decent as well.
Yeah.
So that's what we got to look forward to now.
Diamond Sports, absolutely. It'll be spring ball and media days, and we'll be back in fall camp before you know it. But obviously, like you said, long off season ahead, and Oklahoma's got some areas to button up. It was a big improvement from year 1 to year 2, but there's more improvement to be had. I think that goes without saying for Oklahoma. So we'll look forward to that. Obviously have a lot of time to talk about that and break down the next season, and we will do it on Sooners Illustrated, Oklahoma.247sports.com. So much there for you. We're about to get, obviously, into the winter months, winter workouts, intel coming out of that. Obviously, recruiting never stops. And like I said, it'll be spring ball, media days, and next season, before you know it, that's how this goes. Basketball coverage, Diamond Sports coverage, softball, baseball, that's all going to be there. So join along for the ride and be with us as we get you ready for next season at Sooners Illustrated. That's it for now. We'll talk to you in the Sooners Illustrated podcast here in the coming days. We'll continue to flush this thing out and wrap up the end of this season. For James D. Jackson, I'm Josh Callaway signing off on the 2023 season from the Alamo Dome in San Antonio.